Hello, my name is Winnie, and I'm Libby Castro and Patrick Castro's daughter. Thank you for joining us today. I'm honored to be here because not many kids get to speak in front of all of these creative minds. Also, it is an honor for my parents because they've been recognized by this amazing global organization. Also, I get to miss school. I hate cleaning my bathroom sink, but I do it anyway because it's my chore. I'm also very competitive, so I make up games and I can get the chore out of my way. What I'm trying to say is love what you do for work. And if you don't, sneak fun stuff into it. My dad designs posters, and for his own amusement, he just sneaks some fun stuff like UFOs, land speeders, lots of stuff from Star Wars. I have known Miss Libby and Mr. Patrick all of my life. And when it comes to loving your work, they have taught me everything I know. I hope you enjoy what my parents have to say. Thank you for coming here. Again, it was a great honor. Now, Libby and Patrick Castro.
Jesus. I thought this would be a good idea. I found out about this a week ago for the very reason that I wouldn't be doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, we had a brief thought that we were going to surprise Libby with this with Winnie, but knowing what would happen, I would be more in trouble than anything. So yeah. So thank you, Winnie, for the introduction. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Paul, Kate, and Creative Mornings. As Winnie said, this is really a great honor for us.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to go off script a little bit because my friend Allie and I were in France last week. And I'm just so glad to be here. More glad than you know. So I'm not going to go on with what I had to say. Thankfully, by the grace of good friends who have a country home outside of Paris, I wasn't actually there. But really glad to be with my family and my friends. And vive la France. And if you are a refugee, you're welcome to stay with us. So, Libby, Patrick, Winnie, we make up LPW Design Studios.
So if you've endured one of our presentations before, we typically start off with this idea, and then we go into this whole song and dance of how important this thing is, and then we go on to explain a few things about branding, and then qualities of a brand, how a brand is a living thing, and how it's that extra percent, and so on and so on.
So for today, we reframe this to the least important thing about work is our work. Because for us, this is not work. This is the work, that smile on Thomas's face. This is not work. This is work. Hard work.
Well, we were thinking, where can work be found? And it can be found locally, of course, and globally. But we typically think that it's found here, here, and here. And you know where we're going with this.
Work is relationships, and relationships take work.
Because even though the idea of the star designer still persists, the vast majority of we mere mortals exercise our practice within a pretty typical client-designer relationship. And for that, we develop and maintain relationships, which for us takes this.
And this was the biggest question when we first started. How did you do it? How did you make the leap? And there's a whole nother story about that, of course, for another time and for another theme. But then there were questions about this. And we chose the balance of life and work so we could be together and with these guys. And we have a really simple home office that we love, and we get to do all these goofy projects, personal projects.
And nowadays, the question revolves around this. And this is the point of most discussion between the two of us. And for us, relationship falls into these categories. Relationship with your career, relationship with your peers, and relationship with your clients. We were going to have relationship with technology, but Libby doesn't have a really good one, so we...
True. First, relationship with your career. Our careers. We read somewhere that every safety feature in a car is built on a failure or a fatality, and that felt pretty appropriate for us when we talk about our careers. When we first met, we always wanted to figure out a way to work together, and this is our wedding invitation. But our career paths were anything but direct.
They're messed up firms, and if Libby had the opportunity to pursue her interest instead of being stuck behind a computer, she might have been happier in architecture.
Then the dot-com bust. This is what got us out of San Francisco, and we most likely wouldn't have started our own business there, or if we did, it would have taken a long time. Then the Great Recession. This event pushed us to be in charge of our own destiny. And it reinforces our belief in fluid goals. And that failure is always an option. Because who really learns from success? Hotel Northland was a great opportunity to enter the hospitality industry. Our combined skill sets made experience design for hotels a pretty obvious track for us. This is Hotel Northland. It was built in 1924, and it was the first official site of the first official press conference for the Packers done by Curly Lambeau. And we are in large part restoring the hotel, but we're updating it with all the modern amenities we look for today in hospitality. For instance, this was a 300-room hotel, and now it'll be 160 guest rooms, lots of large suites on every level, and in some cases, multiple rooms. And our break into this industry has been challenging. We've learned many valuable lessons that included work in all of our relationship categories: clients, ourselves, and our career. Like we've said before, who learns from successes? With this project, we've already earned another master's degree in life. In the end, it will be beautiful and a great feather in our cap. Just to walk you through the hotel a little bit, this is the lobby, the idea for the lobby. To modernize it, we're also in charge of the lighting, so that's another part of our scope. And here we're using lighting to accentuate the architecture of the space, plus to give it focus and wayfinding with the lighting. And this is a rendering of Jasmine's, which is their high-end brasserie. And we're using the historic elements in a modern way, so bringing back some of those 20s ideas. Gridiron Tavern is Hotel Northland's very own Packer bar. And so here we've got subtle hints of green and gold within a masculine setting, but it's welcoming to everyone.
So the next thing is a relationship with our peers, or your peers, or in our case, spouse/partner. And for us, this works because of a particular set of unique circumstances. On the spectrum of design, we occupy two different ends with no overlap. Therefore, execution-wise, we don't have to step on each other's toes. And then above all of this is a taste level that we share, and that way we can craft the brand experience together, and then from there we go into our different disciplines to build that experience.
Similarly, personality-wise on the spectrum, we occupy two different ends, extrovert and less extrovert. But we both appreciate the value that the other one brings. Above all, thankfully, we share an equally strong work ethic.
And we work very hard at this, and we have constant check-ins with one another to make sure that the other one is happy and the company is moving in the right direction. But don't get us wrong, it didn't start off this way. At first, communication was like running an obstacle course in a suit of armor. It was clunky, you have limited field of view, and you can't get to your point. But then over time, with experience and trust, the armor becomes lighter, more flexible, and you can traverse more difficult environments or topics without failing too awful badly. Like that.
Which brings us to Five Hearts. This was our first official project together. Five Hearts got its name because of the 5 daughters in their family, and the brand experience was created to appeal to every daughter and their mom, to span the generations of fashion and personal taste. This was our first project that truly used our brand experience skills. As proof of concept for working together, we couldn't have asked for a smoother project. And it doesn't hurt that we had great clients who wrote lovely handwritten cards when the project finished.
So for us, it's pretty simple, respect and trust. But because we're married, we have the best motivators. We want the other person to be happy and inspired and satisfied with their career. Therefore, we always support one another in that search. We got these goofballs. And then finally for us, success in our business is obviously related to success with the family. And so when we started the business, Libby and I made a really serious agreement to have a burn the boats attitude. You know, no looking back. If there was any doubt or hesitation, then we'd be in trouble. So during the tough times, we always remind each other that, you know, freedom. We have the freedom to set our schedule. We have the freedom to choose clients we want to work with, and then we have the freedom to take charge of our future.
Circa 1880 project literally dropped in our laps. Though that happened, the specs were pretty challenging, and we considered it because this would be our first restaurant project in Milwaukee. It fulfilled our basic project demands. So we made the calculated risk. We did way more than just design the space. We also sourced, built, and installed many things. We created and made the artwork, the murals, the frames, etc. In the end, with a lot of hard work, we are really happy with what we made with what we had.
Next is a relationship with your clients. But before we get into that, we'll back up a bit. So Libby started out as a traditional architect, and for the first half of her career...
Way back there.
That's the way she was treated. For the first half of her career, she was put behind a computer, probably the worst place for her because of that. So Libby worked on this project called Lick Wilmerding High School. And even though it had a really weird name, it's a fantastic school in San Francisco. So the project began...
Lots of jokes around that name.
So the project began as a design competition, and Libby was on campus every day before the competition, interviewing staff and teachers and students and developing a pretty tight programmatic checklist. Then from there, her firm won the competition against the likes of William McDonough, who was at the time the Steve Jobs of sustainable architecture. And then after the project was finished, she stuck around and continued her work. And it was the first time that she had direct client connection. And it became clear to her that making clients feel comfortable was arguably the most important part of her job. And her clients definitely noticed.
So a client once told us, "You guys are like design therapists." And we laughed at that, but it is a thought that occurs to us every once in a while, especially when we leave an exhaustive meeting. Because we're all, in many ways, therapists for our clients. We all work hard to understand them and how their past and their values and the history influences them, what their goals are for the future, and how all of those forces affect them today. This is kind of an oversimplified idea of therapy, but then again, so are these diagrams. So whether it's an identity crisis, or a midlife crisis, or a marriage counseling, a company is just a big pile of people with emotions, ideas, hopes and dreams. Counseling them is the same. So you have to be genuine to gain trust. You have to listen to understand. You have to have insight in order to create a compelling idea.
And Libby's always been really excellent at that part. And
That's me, the little one on my dad's lap.
because of the size of her family, connecting with people has been her thing. So but it's only been relatively recently that she's kind of understood the true value of that ability. That she's not only a connecting kind of face-to-face person, but she likes to connect people to people.
Similarly, Patrick started out in corporate communications, branding for large companies, creating large brand standards, documents, and the like. Patrick's freshman design class instructor broke the news. Give up. There's nothing new under the sun. And though this was a sobering reality, the truth of this statement at a young and impressionable age was invaluable. It takes a lot of pressure off. It helps us focus on crafting the story rather than creating. After 23 years, we are more like producers that have listened to a lot of music and are familiar with all the chords and breaks. Therefore, we excel at editing and arranging rather than expressing a studio style.
So we've been working for Stone Creek, or with Stone Creek now, for about 3 years. And our first project was a Radio Milwaukee cafe. And it was pretty intense. And we went from 6 weeks from this to this, and this, and all of the things associated with it. And it was a quick turnaround, and we didn't have a lot of opportunity to create from scratch, but to edit and arrange,
Mm-hmm.
and create kind of an obvious, meaningful brand experience centered around their love for their craft.
Before we started, we warned Eric and Melissa back there that the only way we could really do this project right was for them to give us the wheel. And we've got to hand it to them without knowing us very well. You guys really trusted us.
Since then, we've had an opportunity to step back and really tighten the brand experience, like the cup design, the case study series, in-cafe artwork, and some sillier side projects like this and this. And finally, and most recently, we've been working on we have redesigned the packaging as well as a website.
Mm-hmm. So we get asked a lot about our goals and our future, and we decided we'd rather get better than bigger this way or this way. The questions then become, what is better? Is it being sharper, having more fun? And our answer to all of these and more is yes. It's okay. So, because yes, for us, makes the measure for better immeasurable. Well, off there. So we should get to work. Thank you.